So the Rugby Sevens in the Olympics is extremely close to starting. Samoa, after a not so successful year on the World Sevens circuit, they were demoted. So that means that they will be taking part in the Challenger Series next year. But they'd love nothing more than to right those wrongs and get themselves a medal at the Olympic Games. They've had some great performances over the last couple years. We've got to remember, last year for the Samoans, they were having top 3 finishes time after time on the circuit. So perhaps this is the competition that we do see it slightly turn around. But in this preview, we'll be looking through at the squad that has been selected, the key players that will be taken to the field when their games are taking place for the Olympics, and then at the end, a prediction of how we think the Samoans will go. But looking through at their squad, first of all, it is their captain, Va'a Pilomaleko. He is back from La Rochelle, and he will be hoping to have a massive performance here. He's had extremely limited amounts of times on the Sevens field over the last 12 months, as he did get that contract with the rugby union side in France, but he's a fantastic player. He was one of the leading try scorers on the circuit when he was taking part full time. And I hope this Olympic competition shows us exactly what Va'a Pilomaleko can do, because if he is on form, we know Samoa will be doing extremely well. Motu Opitai is also still in the squad. Taunuu Olivaia, this is the interesting one. Alamanda Matonga has made his way to the Sevens. Of course, he does play for Moana Pacifica in Super Rugby Pacific. He is a fantastic player, and he has got some great breakdown work. He's a unit, he's a big bloke, so I feel like that's the perfect thing to fit in with this Samoan side. BJ Lima, Volvasa Apasua, a little bit similar to Va'a Pilomaleko. We just haven't really seen that man on the Sevens circuit lately. Niueli Letufia, Paul Scanlon, Tom Maeva, Paul Iti Slater, Lalomilo, Steve Onisai, Fa'afoi Falaniko, and also Malakisi Masifao. So that is the side that the Samoans have gone with, a 14-man team. We did see Fiji go with 15, but of course that is more injury cover than anything else for Samoa. I feel like they've got a really strong group here and a lot of potential if they can get it right throughout the competition. But the key players, Va'a Pilomaleko, the captain, he has to be on that list. The way that he plays Sevens when he's in form, it's extremely hard to stop him. Now, I will mention, he does not have one of those other players who were extremely strong when it came to scoring tries, that being Tuna Tuitama. He's actually been selected for the Samoans in the Pacific Nations Cup. And they also don't have Malani Matavao. He is in the same boat as Tuna Tuitama. But those two guys, if they were also in this squad, they would have been my other two key players for the Samoans. Instead, I am going to go with Paul Iti Slater. I want to see some great tries from that man. There was a patch only a couple years ago where any time that man was on the field, he would score a try per game, and he was just very clinical. That is exactly what Samoa are going to need in this Olympics competition. The top 2 sides from each group will go through automatically to the quarterfinals. The 2 best third-place teams will also go through. So Samoa, they're in a tough group with some top contenders, but I'd like to think if they can keep those games close or maybe pull off the upset wins, then that would be great. Then that would mean that they have a decent shot of making their way through to the quarterfinals. And the reason I mentioned all of that is because if they want to keep it close, they will need a lot of tries. I feel like this competition in particular, definitely with it being the Olympics, all of the sides are going to try and step up to their absolute best potential that they can have. You have to be on your A game for the Samoans. And then I'm also going to go with Alamanda Matonga, just because I've seen what he's done throughout Super Rugby Pacific. And if that man gets into the breakdown, we may see a few steals going the way of Samoa, which is something they have lacked in some of the more recent leagues of the Sevens. Just not quite getting as much possession as they would like in their matches. But now we move on to the fixtures, when they are taking place and who they are going up against. Their opening game will be up against the Australians, and not only is it their opening game, it is the opening contest for the Olympic Sevens. That one taking place at 1:30 a.m. New Zealand time, but that is 2:30 a.m. for you guys in Samoa. Up against the Aussies, that is always a hard-hitting affair, sometimes pretty close, although more recently Australia seems to have gotten the advantage over the Samoans. But that is one of those contests, if you're not going to win it, you have to make sure you get within the 7 just to really cut down on that differential and keep yourself in the hunt. Then they have got Argentina, so it does not get any easier for the Samoans. That will be taking place at 5:30 a.m. New Zealand time, so 4 hours later than their first contest, or 6:30 for you guys who are in Samoa, up against the side that won the overall circuit in 2023-24's competition. They have a brilliant side. They don't have Marcos Mineta, so that is one bonus for the Samoans, but there is still a massive list of Los Pumas players who can make massive differences throughout the 14 minutes, and then their last game, it will be up against the Kenyans. That is taking place at 12 a.m. New Zealand time on the Friday morning, or 1 a.m. for you guys in Samoa. That is up against Kenya, a side that recently got themselves promoted into the Sevens circuit, whereas Samoa, like I mentioned earlier on, they did get relegated down to the Challenger Series, so perhaps that is going to be one of those games that Samoa look to prove a point. Say, yes, Kenya may be on the circuit, but we can still beat them, and we're coming for our spot in next year's competition. But those are the upcoming fixtures for Samoa. Now we are up to the stage of a prediction. Now, I do predict that this group is going to be extremely tough, and there could be a couple upsets along the way. I would like to think that Samoa can get themselves a win in one of those first two games up against either Australia or Argentina, and I feel like if they do that, they pretty much confirm their spot through to the quarterfinals. If they lose both those games, though, that is where it gets extremely tricky, and depending on points differential, could determine whether or not they go through if they do beat the Kenyans. But for me, I'm going to be optimistic. Because they got kicked off the series, I feel like there's got to be some extra determination from these Samoan boys to go out there, win a gold medal, because next year is going to be the first time since the Sevens circuit started up that Samoa are not going to be a part of it. And I feel like for Samoa's sake, being able to say, well, we're not on the Sevens circuit, but you kicked a gold medalist out of your competition would be a massive, well, that would be an FU to World Rugby for the way that that Sevens competition was laid out. I don't know of many people who actually like the way that they did it this year in terms of four bottom sides all having the chance to miss out on next year. Whether you won or lost your first three games in qualifying in that competition, it didn't matter because you were still playing off in that fourth game for your position on the circuit. And I feel like if Samoa were able to get themselves, doesn't even have to be the gold, just a bronze or a silver, they'd be able to say, well, imagine not having a side that won in the biggest competition in the world when it comes to rugby sevens and a massive occasion in general. Imagine not having them in your competition. Wouldn't seem like the best idea, but that is the thing. I don't think Samoa would look at it that way. I know that a lot of people would, though. They want to see Samoa do well here, so that maybe in the future we see it converted back to 16 teams rather than the 12 that they did have for the last competition. But we will be doing Samoa's games on the channel with the live commentary, ladies and gents, so be sure to check that out. Like I mentioned, their first game up against the Australians, we are going to be covering that one on the channel, as well as their other two, maybe a few more if they do make it further in the competition. But thank you all very much for tuning in. Do let me know how well you think the Samoans will go in this competition in the comments down below. Also, who is the player that you are looking forward to seeing the most for Samoa? But thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all for the next one.